Hi, and happy November. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope it's a beautiful day where you are. It's a very beautiful day here in Asheville, North Carolina. I appreciate you being with me.
When I was a little fella, ping pong table in the cellar. Every night just after dinner, he used to let me be the winner. The ones that could get over the net, he'd pretend like I could not get. Deliberately he hit them wide, but only barely missed the sides. And everything he'd hit real soft, he could turn it on and off. But just to show me that he could, he'd almost hit one through the wood. My dad, he was a champion. Me, I was his only son. He taught me everything he knew, and I've shown him a thing or two. He played the ball with lots of spin, taught me how to serve like him. I was 11, maybe 10, starting to play a little better then. Then I started talking trash. Finally he met his match. 16, maybe 17, taut as the net that was between us. He'd slam one and I'd slam one, and he'd slam one and I'd slam one, and he'd slam another and I'd slam another, back and forth attacking each other. It was spin and counter spin. Neither could let the other win. Things would never be the same when I learned to beat him at his game. But now we play like gentlemen, volley back and forth again. Neither of us keeping score. We don't need to anymore. Now I don't want to slam at all. Don't want him to have to chase the ball. Let's just keep this thing in play. That's the whole point anyway.
That was a song I wrote as a songwriting assignment at Lamb's Retreat in Harbor Springs, Michigan, which is where I would actually be arriving later this afternoon if it was a normal year. And I would be using my GPS to get there. And her name is Emily, and she speaks with a British accent. Now, my ex-wife was not very fond of Emily. She used to refer to her as that other woman, because every time I would phone home from the road, while I was driving, Emily would be constantly interrupting us. This is called My British Emily.
Well, that other woman says my wife, she's who you trust with your life. Listen to her more than you do me. I said, you just tell me where to go, but how to get there, you don't know. She She never asks if we can stop and pee. Yeah, I think that other gal knows best. North and south, east and west, I hardly pay attention anymore. In bed sometimes I hear her voice, British Emily, not Australian Joyce. And my dreams would take a little detour. Now once she told me to turn onto a dirt road, but all night long it had just snowed. Not even the highway had been plowed. Well, I did not turn, kept going straight. She kept saying recalculate, and Mickey, you turn when allowed. Well, sometimes we might disagree, and all the while she yells at me, but then I yell back, well, shut her up. I call her a whore, I call her a witch, I call time out and I flip the switch for some peace and quiet. She can't interrupt. Well, satellite connection dropped. I pulled over and I stopped. Spaghetti Junction was coming up ahead. It's been years since I last had a map, all spread out across my lap, and I wish she would have talked to me instead. The ramps to the left, ramps to the right, there wasn't another soul in sight. It wasn't whizzing by at 75. My teeth were clenched, my knuckles white. That's when we had another big fight. She refused to say which way to drive. Well, sometimes we might disagree, and all the while she yells at me, but then I yell back, well, shut her up. I call her a whore, I call her a witch, I call time out and I flip the switch for some peace and quiet. She can't interrupt. Well, now one time when I drove all day, just one road a long, long way, I got caught up in thinking, as you do. Well, she froze to death, I did not know I'd missed my exit hours ago, and I never even saw her face turn blue. Like a lot of old songs, this one has a bit of an adult verse to it. If that's something you think could upset you, just hold your ears a second. Well, I mount her and I turn her on. She tells me I'm her Don Juan in ways only my Emily can do. Oh, that's her out there in the car, the one who doesn't know where we are. And it turns out all she needed was a screw. Well, sometimes we might disagree, all the while she yells at me, but then I yell back, well, shut her up, a Phillips head. I call her a whore, I call her a witch, I call time out and I flip the switch for some peace and quiet. She can't interrupt. That other woman says my wife, she's who you trust with your life. Listen to her more than you do me. Well, it's true I do, 'cause she knows the route. She's the one that has the mute. She came with an extended warranty. My British Emily.
Well, I haven't been using her too much lately, that's for sure. Time for a baseball song. In 1911 and 1912, the Wyoming State Penitentiary had a prison baseball team. They were known as the Death Row All-Stars. Every member on that team was on death row, and they literally were playing for their lives. As long as they kept winning, they would get stays of execution. If they started losing, their name got called. This is called the Death Row All-Stars.
Meet the plains, towns rolls up to meet the trains. Frontier justice handed down. Rollins was that kind of town. They'd hang somebody now and then, make some shoes out of their skin, put them up there on display, reminding folks crime does not pay. Wyoming built the state pen here for the worst of men. Tom Horn had been the last to hang before the shortstop Joseph sang. Now all my teammates one by one, and each of us a mother's son. Oh, to the gallows pole, Lord have mercy on my soul. The day that Warden Austin came, he hung a picture he had framed of Connie Mack, his eyes ablaze, sitting with his world champ ace. He ordered balls and bats and gloves to form a prison baseball club. And teams from all across the West would testify we were the best. Practice in the prison yard, concrete diamond pocked and scarred. I only lived to crush that ball somewhere far beyond those walls, to places I won't ever see. Go on, ball, you go for me. Give those lawmen all the drop. Keep on rolling, never stop. On game days, homemade banners hung. The streets were full and the bells were rung. The Carbon County volunteer band played for the people in the stands. Our dark blue flannels trimmed with white, they fit just fine, baggy or tight, compared to wearing prison blues. They kept us off the working crews. 1912, trophies on the warden shelf. We went 39-6 against the clock that always ticks. The warden bet on us to win, so did the judge and two our friends. Our executions would be stayed depending on how well we played. Yesterday I struck out twice, lay all night on a bed of ice. The warden called me in this morning, asked me for my uniform. He offered me a cigarette. He told me that my date's been set. Tomorrow, should the sun still rise, I would be the most surprised. This year 5x7 cell at the old Crossbar Hotel. I'll leave things just the way they are, the photographs and the baseball cards. Whoever has, take them down. There's one of me out on the mound. Send it to my mama, please, and tell her I died from some disease. Yeah, send it to my mama, please, and tell her I died from a rare disease.
Some years ago, many years ago, back in the mid-1980s, I did a lot of fruit picking. I did quite a bit of citrus picking in Israel, living on a kibbutz. And then when I came back to the U.S., I went up to Washington State to pick apples. And I was the only one that was not an illegal from Mexico. And they all had to worry about the immigration police coming around trying to catch them by surprise and deport them. So we had a signal amongst ourselves. Whoever saw the immigration police, which in Spanish is called Lamigra, anybody that saw them coming would whistle, and everybody else would jump off their ladders and go run, disappear into the trees, and Lamigra wouldn't find anybody but me, and they'd disappear. 5 minutes later, everybody would be back out on their ladders working again. So I wrote this song for my friends. It's called Lamigra Viene. It means the immigration police are coming. The other Spanish word in it is andale, which means run.
beans were chili. Yeah, it was crisp as a striped or red or golden delicious. Couple tortillas, coffee with rum. By the time the sun came up, would have half a been done. Trees were like temples, was a holiness to them. Picked out the bottoms and then all the way through 'em. Up on the ladder, out on a limb. Trees were like temples and I loved being in them. Fernando amazed me, he was the quickest. 18 bins in a day he could do. I got 9 once, that was with big fruit. Only worked as hard as I needed to. Sometimes though on the nicest of days, somebody would whistle and my friends would run away. They were yelling, Lamigra, 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 vieni. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that Lamigra was coming. My Spanish was stiff, little too formal. I cracked them up and they taught me to cuss. And bet I was cussing when they all went running. And bet I was cussing at the big yellow bus. The van brought 'em in till the bus was loaded. Sometimes whole families, well, at least you'd have thought they'd be back the next week up on their ladders, giving new names the next time they got caught. Sometimes though on the nicest of days, somebody would whistle and my friends would run away. They're yelling, Lamigra, 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 vieni. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that Lamigra was coming. Lamigra, 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 vieni. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that Lamigra was coming.
So I just want to mention that, as always, there's no charge to watch today, but I'm relying on your generosity and kindness. So if you're interested in tipping, if you can tip, all of the URLs, there are several ways that you can do that. All of the URLs are in the very beginning of the comments section. I dropped them in right before I started to play today. There's also information on picking up my recordings. If you'd like CDs, you can order them directly from my website, and if you'd like digital downloads, you can order them from bandcamp.com, and the digital downloads, you can pay whatever amount you would like. You can even have them for free if you're not in a position where you can pay anything these days. And there is also information on how to support me via patreon.com. I have a page there. It's a wonderful way of supporting an artist. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I had a very dear friend by the name of Rachel Bissix, a singer-songwriter. She lived in Vermont. And seems like it's been at least 10 years now since she passed away. But I was able to, I was in the area when the celebration of her life took place. So I was able to go to it. And her guitar was up on the pulpit, all by itself on a guitar stand. I sang that day. I think Dar Williams sang that day. A lot of other people, a lot of Rachel's friends sang. But we all did so from the floor in front of the pulpit. And that guitar was all by itself up there. It was the first thing that caught my eye when I walked into the room, and it's really the only thing I was able to look at most of that day. I just kept thinking about how that guitar must be missing its best friend, and how that guitar would never, ever be played the same way again. It couldn't be. I thought about it for a couple of weeks, and ultimately I wrote this song. It's called Rachel's Guitar.
Rachel's guitar was out of its case on the pulpit where cards and flowers were placed. Weak and exhausted and propped on a stand, homesick and lonely for Rachel's hands. Rachel's guitar looked around for its friend and for the songs they'll never play again. And it ached for the way she would make it ring. And that was maybe the most heartbreaking thing. Rachel's guitar, it looked totally lost behind the line that nobody crossed. His voice was mute and it had gone numb since the last time that Rachel was able to strum. Rachel's guitar, it went back in its case to be laid to rest and to take up space. And after the friends and the family left, it was taken back home where gently it wept. Well, a sweet old guitar, it will have many lives. Now this one sleeps till the next one arrives. Somebody takes it out of its case and they can't put it down for the rest of their days. And they can't put it down for the rest of their days. And they can't put it down.
Rachel Bissex. You should look her up. It's Bissex. And she did several albums. I'll tell you a little quick funny story. I sang harmony on one song many, many years ago. I was in town to play the local coffee house, and she actually had started that coffee house many years earlier. She wasn't involved with it at that point, but she came down to my show to see if I'd be interested in swinging by her house afterwards to sing a quick harmony part on the song. And she already had the great Katie Curtis had sung a part for that same song. And I knew Katie many years earlier. We used to play the same open mic together, and she's just great. And so I said, absolutely, I'd love to do this. I'd love to sing a harmony part that matches, with Katie. So I went over there, and it turns out that Katie's part didn't quite match Rachel's part in terms of the phrasing. In fact, it was pretty off. And I had to decide, who do I lock in with? Do I follow Rachel, or do I follow the other harmony singer? And I decided to follow the other harmony singer, Katie, so that we were in sync, but we were both a little bit out of sync with Rachel. And when the album came out, there was no Katie on it. It was just me, hung out to dry all by myself, out of sync with Rachel. So, but She was a great soul. Loved her dearly. So did everybody who ever knew her. So, I don't have an introduction for this song. I'll just play it.
Siphoned off the riches, how they covered for each other, and they scratched each other's itches, how they took all they could carry, as much as they desired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. They auctioned off the sunsets, the beaches and the waves, the mountain tops and forests. What sweetheart deals they gave to themselves, and all their buddies went the jewels of the empire. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. They owned the TV stations, the radio and print. They controlled what people knew and what the people didn't. They packed the boards and ministries, turned up the amplifier. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. They preyed on people's goodness, upon their trusting hearts. They dismantled progress and then sold it off for parts. And they spoke the kind of double talk Goebbels would have admired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot was fired. They often mention Jesus and sometimes Thomas Paine. This is the age of treason and they toast it with champagne. But behind the Iron Curtain, it's all been secretly rewired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. And they demonized whole races. They made the people scared. All the while from trumpets patriotic music blared. Oh, it could never happen here, says the Holocaust denier. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. Old Glory, she still flies above the courthouse and the dome. The Super Bowl still happens just like it did in Rome. Their ads appear on everything like the flags of an occupier. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. Not many people saw it, and the rest they won't believe. They look at you like you're crazy, like it's you who's been deceived. And they're bullying the angels for not singing with the choir. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot.
Let's move on to baseball. By the way, I'd love to know where you might be watching from. And what else can I tell you? I'm available if you're interested in hiring me for a private concert over Zoom for a birthday or an anniversary or any occasion, just for the fun of it. Gather up a few friends and family. We can do that. It's a sliding scale, so we can talk about that. It's not cost prohibitive. I also am available for songwriting workshops and lessons or critiques or some guitar lessons if you're interested. So, what else? When Jackie Robinson first crossed the color line, he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers farm club, the Montreal Royals, and in his very first game, he went 4 for 5. One of his hits was a home run. And the batter that followed him in the batting order was a man by the name of George Shotgun Shuba. And when Jackie hit that home run and rounded third base and headed for home, George Shuba stood waiting there for him, with a big smile on his face and his hand extended. And they had a handshake as Jackie Robinson crossed the plate, and that photograph was captured by a photographer and became one of the most iconic photos in baseball history. And a statue of this handshake will be unveiled in Youngstown, Ohio in April of this year. And I just got word yesterday it has been successfully funded in full. So it's absolutely happening, and I will most likely be there to sing this song at the unveiling, which would be a great honor. This is called The Handshake. Fix this one note. Maybe two notes.
Both the ump and the catcher had their hands on their hips. It was only a handshake. It was a coming to grips. Sun was casting long shadows as he touched every base. And as he rounded the third one, the sun lit up his face. It was only a handshake. Maybe not quite. It was captured on camera in black and white. The two of them smiling as he touches the plate, as he crosses the line, when he knows that he's safe. There's only a handshake on opening day. No one knew what would happen if the fella could play. It was only a handshake, but it was the first. And of course there were others who stood up and cursed. It was only a handshake on a minor league field. And it wasn't till later it became a big deal. It's just something that happened. It was nothing he'd planned. The guy hit a homer, so he stuck out his hand. It was only a handshake, a bond between men, teammate to teammate. That's all it was then. Up and cursed. It was only a handshake. It was only a handshake. It was only a handshake. It was only a handshake.
Just coincidentally, I happened to have watched the movie 42 just 2 days ago. It was on, I saw. So, a couple days ago, Friday, I went into the recording studio for a few hours and got my feet wet for album number 13. Well, actually, who knows if it's going to be an album, because now is not a very good time to try to crowdfund, and I don't have the money to make an album, so I'm actually looking at these as singles, and probably release a series of single songs as I can afford to work on them and get them done one by one. And ultimately, when things open up again and touring is possible, I'll probably compile them all on a CD and print some and have an album. But for the time being, the plan is to go digital with it. And here's one of the songs that I recorded. It's my solution for settling an argument, winning somebody over, because nothing else works, but this does.
After 3 or 4 tries, I poked out his eyes. That's how I got him to see. To get him to hear, I screamed in his ear. I gave him the 3rd degree. I sharply berated him and told him I hated him. It wasn't very kind. I shouted and cussed until I won his trust. That's how I changed his mind. I shunned him, ignored him, I wouldn't look toward him. I only would give him my back. I accused him of lies, I would not compromise. I erased him after the fact. I was abrupt, I would often interrupt. We were volatile when combined. And in stating my case, I blew up in his face. And that's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. I blamed him, shamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. Now this man was an ass. I was gonna let him pass, let him take a wide berth of me. But I was right and he was wrong, like I was telling him all along, trying to just get him to see. But he's a this, I'm a that, so we couldn't have a chat of the friendly and civilized kind. Round after round, I just ground him down. Well, that's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. Blamed him, shamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. And so I stomped on his toes, I punched him in the nose. I was using irony. So sure of the truth, I knocked out his tooth and I kicked him twice in the knee. I won over his heart with a poisonous dart, and you should have seen me unwind, being overly cruel and with ridicule. Oh, that's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. I blamed him, shamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. So I called him a fool, challenged him to a duel, threw my white glove in his face. 20 paces and I shot, and I must have hit the spot anyway. That's how I pleaded my case. Well, I won in the end, after making him bend, and after all the papers were signed. In the end, I won, yeah, that's how it was done. Well, that's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. Blamed him, shamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. I blamed him, shamed him, I might have even maimed him. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's
mine. And it works every time. So, I want to dedicate this song to anybody that plays the fiddle or the violin. This is about a fella, classical musician from Poland, who was sent to a concentration camp during World War II, and the fact that he played so well literally was what saved his life. And this is called Warsaw in May.
Godless ones were moving east, and we were turned in by a priest, rounded up with all the rest. The cattle cars from there went west. It was my precious violin. When we arrived, it saved our skins. The audition I would pass that day, the Wagner art dared not misplay. My violin would save my life, as well my daughter and my wife. They summoned me to come and play. I'd close my eyes and go halfway. They were so merry and so gay, who danced by night and killed by day. They'd give me little scraps of food, sometimes when they were in the mood. I'd draw my bow, and they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs and their liqueurs. They crane their necks and strain their ears. I don't know where they found the tears. Maybe someplace back in Berlin. Sometimes I slip some Mahler in. My violin would play itself while I'd escape to someplace else. My shattered mind would limp away to Warsaw in the month of May, conducting in the concert hall. I would not see the things I saw. I'd hear the woodwinds and the strings. I'd tune out all the other things. I'd draw my bow, and they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs and their liqueurs, crane their necks, strain their ears. I don't know where they found the tears. Maybe someplace back in Berlin. Sometimes I slipped some Mahler in. Start to play at dawn until the work crews had all gone. When they returned, we'd play some more, and in between we did our chores. We were not there to entertain the people stepping off the trains. We played when we were told to play. We'd stop when they would say, "Go away." I'd draw my bow, and they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs and their liqueurs. They crane their necks and strain their ears. I don't know where they found found the tears, maybe someplace back in Berlin. Sometimes I slept some more in. Sometimes I slept some more in. Sometimes I slept some more in.
So here's a song off of my very first album. It's another song about when I was picking apples up around Wenatchee, Washington, a little community called Malaga, just outside of Wenatchee, major apple growing area. And this is a story about what happened at the end of the apple season with a family there that I knew. And while I finished tuning my guitar, I'll just mention again for anybody that might have tuned in late that there's no ticket price for watching. There never is. And so I rely completely on your kindness and generosity to tip. And the URLs, the links for how to do that, if you're interested, if you're able to, they're all at the very beginning of the comments, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it would be at the very beginning of the chat window, which you may have to open up. Also, if you're watching on Facebook and you would like to follow me and get alerts anytime I do go live, you can click on the little bell-shaped icon. It's a little hard to tell you where it is because I'm not looking at Facebook right now, but there is one there. If you see one, click on it, and that way, anytime I do go live, you'll get sent an alert, and you'll know. So this is called Maria's Lament.
Jesus was drunk when he roughed up Maria. He kicked down the door. He was looking for a fight. The children fell asleep beside their mother. Maria whimpered all through the night. Well, Jesus took the car. He took all the money. 6-pack of bud. Change of clothes. He left Maria with the kids in the trailer. And I heard he went back to Mexico. This was not the first time that he'd struck her. And I hate to say, but it's probably not the last. This time she swore she's never gonna take him back again. She said that all too often in the past. Maria stayed in the trailer all morning. Maria stayed there all afternoon. There was a welt on her cheek that Maria was hiding in the shape of a purple crescent moon. And at work the next day nobody was talking, so I made up the words to Maria's Lament. Dinner time that night, nobody was hungry. Everybody just stayed inside their tents. Well, this was not the first time that he'd struck struck her. And I hate to say, but it's probably not the last. This time she swore she's never gonna take him back again. She said that all too often in the past. Maria's mother lived down in Porterville. That's an orange picking town. The apple season was just about over, and I myself was California bound. I bought an old Dodge van with my Apple money. I offered them a ride on down the coast. I would loan them all the bus fare back to Porterville. When in Sacramento I would take a different road. We drove down the coast, mostly in silence. Maria held the baby and she cried. And there was little Isabella trying to comfort her. And me, I wanted to talk, but my tongue was tied. There came a letter with the money from Maria and a photograph of Jesus and the kids. Maria, she was there behind the camera. Made me wonder about the bruises it must have hidden. This was not the first time that he'd struck her. And I hate to say, but it's probably not the last. This time she swore she's never gonna take him back again. She said that all too often in the past.
Well, I have two more for you. And just want to mention again that my recordings information for picking that up is listed in the comments or the chat if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're interested in becoming my patron, that would be awesome. You can follow that link to patreon.com to my page there. And it's a way that you can support me on a monthly basis in exchange for some of the things that I might post there that I don't post elsewhere. I don't share on Facebook or with people on my mailing list or any other things like that. New versions of songs, first drafts, private chats and concerts, whatever we can think of, whatever I can think of to share. So it's something that gives me just a little bit of security to know that a certain amount is going to come in every month. As I'm sure you're aware, everybody's kind of burning out on live streams, and so viewership and tips have really dwindled. And so that's why I'm offering Zoom concerts, private concerts. If you're interested, contact me privately, or lessons or songwriting critiques and workshops and such like that. Anything that I can do that might help you out and also help me out would be awesome. So I cannot not play this song this week. I absolutely have to. So I'll give it a rest after this.
Well, he came to our town for maybe an hour. The streets, they got swept and they planted some flowers. Babies he kissed to the people he waved, and he stopped at a Civil War general's grave. He struck just the right pose and he hit just the right chord. He spoke of the family and then of the Lord. He addressed the concerns of the common man. He spoke of the glory of this mighty land. was just the right color and his smile was fixed, and his wardrobe assembled from a bag full of tricks. He had gobs of makeup that were kicked on his face, starch in his collar, every hair was in place, and his wife stood beside him and his daughter did too. Behind them the flag with the red, white and blue balloons from the rafters, they fell to the floor. Oh, happy days were gonna be here once more. He said all the right words, he quoted Bob Dylan songs. He sounded hip even though he's quoted them wrong. And his closets were clean and his history revised, so his record would be spotless in most people's eyes. And he could sell you war, he could revoke your rights, still come off as your friend in the camera lights. And he'll run negative ads if he has to win. He'll go back on his word and he will shed his old skin. Not touched by this guy in the least. He was no savior, I think he was the beast. I have to admit, they staged a good show. It was all reminiscent of 4 years ago when he came to our town for maybe an hour. The streets, they got swept and they planted some flowers. Babies he kissed to the people he waved, and he stopped at a Civil War general's grave. And after an hour, they whisked him away. Things went back to normal, but it took her 3 days. The homeless returned to living outside. The flowers that they planted, they all wilted and died. Yes, it came to our town for maybe an hour. The streets, they got swept, and they planted some flowers.
So, let's hope we know by Tuesday night, and let's hope all of the candidates that I want win. So, here's time for that magic trick. Presto changeo, abracadabra. Here we go. Thank you very much for watching this week. Appreciate you being with me. I'll be back next week. This was my 18th weekly Sunday live stream. Hope you can join me next week for the 19th. Stay well, stay healthy, stay safe. And this is for my parents.
I see you later, 'cause it's time for me to go. That's my ride that just put over, and it sure was good to know you. So go answer your calling, go and fill somebody's cup. See an angel falling, won't you stop and help them up? We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. Keep each other going, and we show each other signs. Sometimes you stumble, sometimes you just lie down, sometimes you'll get lonely with all these people around. You might shiver when the wind blows, and you might get blown away. You might lose a little color, you might lose a little faith. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs. So thank you for the water. Thought I was gonna die out here in the desert, but you quenched my thirst. Let's break a little bread together. Got a little manna. It was a gift from someone who was passing by and offered me a lift. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs.
Thanks again. Stay well.